I'm not going to say it's inherently male or female, but mostly more of a commentary on culture in the moment. But a lot of the business process is built on rewarding bravado. And like you said,
Yeah.
almost this over embellishment, this over like the over projection of confidence. And it's really a lot of people in business are rewarded not even really on their risk tolerance or their risk aversion or their this or that. It's really just their ability to show up and tell people that things are good and they're going to be okay and get them jazzed up. And it's like showmanship is what drives the process a lot of the time. And I think from a male female gender role in our current society, men from a very young age are trained and rewarded, even outside the business context, to practice and adopt and nurture that kind of bravado. It's a very much like a male selected trait culturally. Females from a young age are not really encouraged to develop that sort of overconfident gravitas because a lot of men find it disarming or they find it unattractive. So there's no incentive from a young age with our current gender dynamics. So when you have females that enter the workforce, I think their experience is different and they're somewhat disadvantaged because I think the truth from my perspective, they tend to be more honest. They tend to be more level-headed. A lot of females I work with in the workforce, they tend to have their first instinct is not to make everything they've done on paper from 100% to 120% and give that extra oomph. They just tend to be more straightforward and more honest.
Most women will take what they just did as 100% and tell you it was an 80% because they're very careful, which, and men of course go the other direction.
Yeah, they don't want to look cocky. I mean, it's just something that I think women are expected to be more humble in a way than men. And I think then we turn around and kind of find their humility sort of off-putting on a stage where we would expect them to be more aggressive and really pushing their ideas forward with almost a zealous mentality. So there's a lot of differences, and it's tough when I coach female, mentees, employees, people who are just in the competitions that I'm looking at. It is always a sense of I never want to tell them, hey, you need to just be out there and give it more, because they're giving the facts. They're saying very calmly what they're trying to do and what they want to achieve, and they're coming at it with an earnestness that I think actually lends itself to fantastic business. But in a way, even for myself, I have a lot of self-awareness because I get swept up. If their male counterpart gives out there and gives like a crazy show and it's not substantiated by anything but swagger, you still kind of get
still
stars.
Enticing.
Yeah, you're like,
yeah.
Well, if I'm giving $1 million to somebody, this guy seems like he's going to make it into $10 million, like you said, and this person just seems like they'll make a solid return, but where's the swag? Where's the like boom, boom, boom? And I don't know. It's just it's our entertainment.
Yeah, and I was about to say, and I think the good thing is that instead of for a long time, women had to compete in that space. And so I think, if you were a woman coming up in the entrepreneurial space, let's say, 30 years ago, you just had to compete on a man's stage. Now, I think that women being involved in this facet, but in every facet, in politics, in, traditional business, in every facet, women are starting to change the dynamic. And I think in a lot of wonderful ways. And I think to your point, in men and women, things like, unsolicited bravado and, confidence that's unchecked by facts and, all those things are starting to get mitigated, and people are starting to say like, no, I'm okay with someone who's, and I think we're seeing a lot of these changes. I mean, even I think introverted, extroverted is even like a very basic. For years, introverts just got ignored. And now the science is starting to say like, might be important to listen to the introvert on your team because they actually may know a lot more about what they're doing than the extrovert. And so I think there's a lot of things in business and, the entrepreneurial space is just a perfect petri dish of it. Of instead of, again, constantly pushing, to kind of bring it full circle, if the traditional media interpretation of funding is like you walk into a room, you tell people you're going to make $100 to every $1 they give you, and then they give you $10 million, I would say just as unrealistic as getting handed $100 million is, that type of a pitch is also becoming outdated. And so I think what people are looking for, even if you were to go down a funding route, which again is very, very unlikely and almost never happens anymore. But even if you are, I think people are now looking for, everything in the lean business model. They want to see that you've interacted with the market. They want to see that you have data. They want to see that you're having returns. They want to see that you put in the work. And so I think, in that space, women actually can do a lot of, can have a lot of success. So it's kind of interesting to see all the dynamics shifting.